Sri Lanka's most powerful news brand.
Hello there, very good evening and welcome to your Primetime News Bulletin. I'm Shane Silva.
And I'm Azra Hassan. Let's now take a look at the headlines.
Underworld criminals among those contesting February polls. Asian Development Bank spells out reasons for 2015-2016 island-wide blackout. India gives $45 million aid to develop Kankasanture harbour. Reason for President to seek Supreme Court determination on his tenure. Can rapists of 14-year-old suicide victim be charged with murder?
The March 12th movement claims 50 people connected to corruption and other crimes have come forward to contest the local government elections. Among them are 5 underworld criminals.
And compiled this report following a comprehensive study conducted on the 56,066 candidates contesting the local government polls. The report states 14 candidates are connected to illegal spirits productions. 6 candidates are connected to assault, 6 others are charged with crimes and homicide, and 14 are charged with financial fraud. In addition, 5 underworld criminals, 1 charged with rape and 4 charged with timber racketeering are contesting the local government polls. Over the years, the March 12th movement has reiterated to all political parties in the country to refrain from including tainted individuals into the nomination list. Those parties pledged the agreement on the 12th of March 2015 and its implementation. Sadly, what we see is the guidelines that have been disregarded this time around. The party secretary may not be aware of this, but the electorate organizers are definitely aware. They assume they can secure victory by putting forward such people. Political parties must send a message during this election and say they made a mistake. Though 50 are tainted, almost 60,000 are contesting. All of them are not corrupt and not engaged in illegal acts. But can these people prove through their campaigns they are suitable to be elected as public representatives?
We know in Sri Lanka we don't have regulations to look at campaign finance, campaign expenditure. We don't know where campaign money is coming from because disclosure policies are not there. And especially because of the governance issues going on in the country, this election is really important for the major political parties to consolidate their power. So a lot of the political parties are pumping in a lot of money for this particular election, which means the abuse of public resources, state resources, is going to be even more higher.
Addressing the Sri Lanka Freedom Party media briefing today, its Vice Chairman, Minister Mahinda Samarasinghe, said President Maithripala Sirisena at the Cabinet meeting today had clarified the reasons to seek the opinion of the Supreme Court on his term of office.
Around 2 to 3 weeks ago at the Presidential Secretariat, officials during the President's national programs had informed the President that there were 2 opinions which came forward when discussing the future development plans. Some of them had said, let's make the development plan until the end of 2019 only, because under the 19th Amendment to the Constitution, that is when the term ends. Another group had said, no, it can be taken ahead for 6 years, so let's formulate the development plans until 2021. The President informed the Cabinet of Ministers today since these 2 opinions came forward, he consulted the actual situation through the legal aspect and what needs to be done. The Attorney General had requested the President to give him 2 to 3 days until he gives his advice. Likewise, 2 to 3 days later, the Attorney General had met with the President and said the way they see it, an explanation could be sought regarding his term of office. Thereby, the President had written to the Supreme Court seeking an explanation. And now we know what the determination of the Supreme Court is. They said it is not 6 but 5 years. So the President did not seek the opinion of the Supreme Court because he suddenly wanted to remain in power for 6 years.
Advisor of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party, former President Mahinda Rajapaksa, attended a meeting in Battramula yesterday on promoting the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna.
We have got the opportunity on the 10th to rectify the mistake which happened on the 8th. It is not for anything else but to vote for the flower bud. Do not forget this. The Sri Lanka Freedom Party has said my face does not belong on the flower bud and had made a complaint about it. So the elections commissioner had asked for my pictures to be removed. Then I said there were a few had requested for my picture to be used and I said it wasn't an issue. Yes, he is. We will see how it goes in the future. Something called natural justice should be implemented here. We've said it before, that the Central Committee took a decision before the election was announced that anyone working to promote or endorse candidates of another party is against the party's constitution and that legal action would be taken. So at the moment we are building up that case and when the time comes, the required action will be taken. Have some patience. Do not panic. We will take the necessary measures on the basis of natural justice.
Leader of the JVP, Anurakumara Disanayake, speaking in Badulla yesterday, criticised the method of governance.
Coconuts cannot be imported under the Plant Protection Act. Ranil Wickremesinghe says coconuts cannot be imported with the husk. So let's scrape the coconut and import that product. Do we need a government to import rice, scraped coconut and vegetables? Does the country exist to only cook them? Do we need this situation? They slashed the uniforms for school children as well as the fertilizer subsidy. They failed to provide fertilizer. They mixed up the required fertilizer. They gave urea when it was not required. They have proved during these 3 years they have failed in governance. Who is with him today? Basil Rajapaksa. Now that Mahinda cannot become president, Basil is trying to become prime minister. Nevertheless, elder brother Chamal is there, so he has to be given a post. So when he wins Hambantota, he would at least have to be given the post of speaker. Namal has also been entangled in this for a while now. So he would have to be given the post of education minister at least. But Gotabaya is the smartest out of them all. So he would have to be given a much bigger position. This is exactly what the group with Mahinda Rajapaksa is saying not to do. But the thing is, Mahinda cannot get out of it. Mahinda, who was a major character, is now a slave of the Rajapaksa family. His equal is Ranil Wickremesinghe. He will not distance himself from the scavengers, neither he cannot distance himself from them. On this side you have nepotism, on the other you have personal favourites.
UPFA mayoral candidate for the Colombo Municipal Council Azad Saleh, speaking to reporters, had this to say.
Mahinda Rajapaksa continuously speaks about forming government through accords reached with the United National Party. It was back in 2007, Mahinda Rajapaksa and the United National Party signed an agreement to form a joint government. Maithripala Sirisena was the General Secretary, but nothing was discussed with him. He was not allowed to look at the agreement and he was asked to sign it. But before long, that collapsed because Kauru Jayasuriya and 21 others defected. Now, some UNP MPs are saying it was they who brought in this president and if not for them, he would not be elected. But we wish to tell them this. If your leader contested, he would have lost both in 2010 and 2015. Everyone is aware of that. If you look at the change, President Maithripala Sirisena appointed a Prime Minister from the UNP which had 44 MPs. The UNP, however, does not speak about that.
The UNP's mayoral candidate for the Colombo Municipal Council, Rosie Senanayake, expressed the following at a meeting.
The Prime Minister made me the chair of the Lakwanita Peramuna. The United National Party suffered defeat for years. But via the Lakwanita Peramuna, I was able to bring together women from all over the country and secure a victory at the 2015 presidential and parliamentary elections. While I am the chair of the Lakwanita Peramuna, I have been given the responsibility to identify the issues of the people in the Colombo city limits. One is to establish a national school for Central Colombo. Through a policy statement, you will be given an answer. If I am handed over the municipal council as mayor, I will look into all the requirements. Let's now take a look at some views from the political arena.
They extended the time for bars to be open by 2 hours. In the meantime, they thought it is just the men who are drinking, so we have to get the women drinking as well. The president gets to know of any decision taken by a cabinet minister through our friends in the media.
It was during the Rajapaksa regime that 2,000 temples were closed down and 2,000 new bars were opened. So the concept of opening bars is not on our hands. It was done by the rulers before us.
Since this matter is contradictory to a clause in his policy statement, he even instructed the secretary to the Ministry of Finance to remove this circular. The Cabinet of Ministers brought this matter up again today. A number of cabinet ministers spoke about, and none of them were of the view that this should be relaxed. All of them said it does not suit our culture. So the entire cabinet unanimously decided to remove this circular.
Today, the United National Party is finding fault with President Maithripala Sirisena, saying they voted for him, but he appointed a bond commission against their party and made their party member thieves. They are angry because they were called thieves. Why? Because they are thieves. They are asking Dilan to get out so they can steal by themselves.
Ministers of our own government are reprimanding the United National Party. After the 10th of February, we must discuss about a new journey, because how much more patient can we be? It was the United National Party that made the president victorious.
If they are under the impression that the president must dance to the tunes of the United National Party, I do not think that it is fair, because they all got together to correct the mistakes, and now they are stealing away. The Bond Commission is of the opinion that the UNP should be fully accountable for this crime.
During the presidential election, I visited a house in my electorate, Kakirava. I spoke to an elderly lady there and asked, how is the election? She said the boys would all vote. What she said did not really agree with me. I asked, what about your vote? She said she opted in silk cloth and made a vow before Lord Buddha that she would vote for Mahinda. He used Lord Buddha as bait and deceived the elderly women. To which hell is he trying to go to? There was just one thing he did not do. Find women for the men and men for the women. I thought he might do it when he goes to Swaziland, but he was a bit late.
They stowed paddy at the Hambantota airport. They robbed the central bank in broad daylight. They stand bare naked with the thieves now. The UNP is selling the country with Ranil. Tonight we bring you a tragic story which we will find upsetting. The pointless loss of a young girl's life as a result of the vile actions of 3 young men.
I'm dying. If I had done wrong to my family, relatives or friends, I'm sorry. I love my friends and family. These are some of the final words of a 14-year-old girl who committed suicide after she was gang raped by 3 young men, one of which was her boyfriend. On Tuesday night, the girl had left the house in Werawilla Hambantota after she was called by her boyfriend. The following day, the victim's family found her hanging from a tree. She was hospitalized and later died while receiving treatment at the intensive care unit of the Hambantota General Hospital. The post-mortem conducted by the police confirms that she was raped, and her body samples will be sent to the government analyst for further investigation. The 3 suspects were found in the Yala Forest Reserve and were arrested by the Werawilla police. A young girl saw no option but to end her life after being gang raped. The 3 men who raped her may not have put the rope around her neck, but are they guilty of murder? Newsfirst spoke to the president of the Bar Association of Sri Lanka, U.R. De Silva.
We have to consider whether there is a possibility to charge them under 296 also, that is murder, because at the end of the story, the unfortunate victim commit suicide, then on that basis whether is there any possibility and is there any evidence to connect these two incidents and then send the indictment as 296.
If you have been moved by this story, if you or anyone you know should ever feel ending your life is the only way out following rape or abuse, there is help. Contact the Women's Helpline on 1938. That's 1938.
In more local news, Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe inspected the work on the Central Expressway today.
The Prime Minister inspected the work taking place in Kurunegala, Henemulla and Gatwana. Minister of Higher Education and Highways Lakshman Kiriyala was among those who accompanied the Prime Minister.
This expressway will bridge 2 ports, 2 airports, a trade zone, tourism and all the main cities in Sri Lanka. This will bring development to the country. If we are going to be the hub of the Indian Ocean, the centre would be this new road. Many spoke about the Central Expressway with President Maithripala Sirisena. When this is complete, it will take an hour and a half to reach Colombo and 3.5 hours to reach Hambantota. When we took over, some places had infrastructure and some did not. There were no funds to start this project. The main plan is to make Sri Lanka the centre of the Indian Ocean. We created a complete infrastructure plan in 2015 and implemented it. It was a debt-ridden economy we had. With this infrastructure, we can look into the future with hope. Iflal Amin, a member of the All Ceylon Muckle Congress, commented on the party leadership at a propaganda meeting in Puttlam.
When our minister was defecting from the Mahinda group doing good governance, he did not take any money and he gave 1,000 million to good governance.
The Ministry of Finance has signed a memorandum of understanding with the Exim Bank of India to develop the Kankasanture port into a commercial port.
As per the MOU, India will provide a financial assistance of $45.27 million for upgrading Kankasanture harbour. The MOU was signed by the Secretary to the Ministry of Finance, Dr. R.H.S. Samaratunga, and the Managing Director of the Export-Import Bank of India, David Paul. The Indian assistance of $45.27 million would be used for the rehabilitation of the breakwater and existing pier, construction of a new pier for commercial cargo handling, and for the installation of the port infrastructure facilities. Several phases with regard to the project, including the preparation of a detailed project report, have already been completed. The Finance Minister says that this project will also enhance trade in the northern province. The Indian government is providing a concessionary loan for this venture.
The Asian Development Bank has set out a series of reasons that are attributed to the island-wide blackouts within a span of 7 months from 2015 to 2016.
According to the Asian Development Bank, poor operation of the protection system, lack of operational flexibility and bottlenecks in the transmission system attributed to the island-wide blackouts. The Asian Development Bank listed underinvestment in transmission and medium voltage network and protection system resulting from high government debt to GDP ratio and poor financial status of the Ceylon Electricity Board as other reasons for higher generation costs. The ADB confirmed this in an announcement made. It will grant $1.5 million to Sri Lanka to hire 2 consulting firms to study and improve the soundness of the island's power transmission system, which has suffered blackouts owing to poor reliability. This project will start in March 2018 and will be completed by February 2019.
The joint opposition convening a media briefing commented on the treasury bond issuances from 2008 to 2014.
An extraordinary statement was made in Parliament after the Prime Minister called to convene. He said from 2008 to 2014, 5,147 billion rupees worth of bonds were issued and 4,702 billion were issued with a lack of transparency and without the approval of the Monetary Board. Following the statement made by the Prime Minister, the Central Bank and the Government and the PDD are bound to respond and say whether 4,702 billion rupees worth of bonds were issued in an illegal manner from 2008 to 2014 and whether the government is accountable for that. The Central Bank of Sri Lanka says the forensic audit into government securities and EPF operations from 2008 to 2014 will be done by an external party.
The central bank made the statement in response to calls made for an immediate statement on whether there have been any irregularities in the issuing of government securities during the period 2008 to 2014. The central bank says it is not appropriate to make any statement in this regard prior to the conclusion of the forensic audit.
Every year, the government allocates a mammoth sum of money for education. However, are they spending on uplifting the infrastructure at schools across the country?
Many students in the country are struggling to get a proper education, and it is the government's responsibility to ensure the requirements of the students are met. But it is questionable that whether it has been fulfilled. This is Mulyavele Kale Mahal Vidyalaya Mulathiv. The school was founded in 1929 and ever since has been providing education from grade 1 to 11. But due to the lack of buildings, the students are forced to study in tents. Similar problems are faced in the northern province as well as in the eastern province. Kinya DB Jaya Girls College is a school consisted of 550 students. The school provides classes from grade 1 to GCE advanced levels. It was opened up in 1944 in a storeroom at Kinya and was moved to the Kinya Manjoel in 2016. Children of this school are also studying in tents.
A book titled The Island of the Lion and the Land of the Dragon was launched in Colombo today.
The book contains essays by prominent Sri Lankan and Chinese academics. The collection of essays is jointly published by the Pathfinder Foundation and the China Institutes of Contemporary International Relations, also known as CICR. Members of the Pathfinder Foundation were present at the launch, including its Executive Director Lakshman Sirivardhana, as well as the Chairman of the Pathfinder Foundation, Bernard Gunathilaka. The Governor of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, Dr. Indrajit Kumaraswamy, delivered the keynote address.
Because Hambantota is not just a long lease of the port. The long lease of the port catalyzes far, far more. The Chinese are going to create 5 foundational industries. An LNG plant, a refinery, a steel plant, a cement factory, and a ship repair facility. And there, I think, there's been talk of 15,000 acres. But even if it's half that, it will have a massive impact on our prospects.
We now take a look at today's illustrated news courtesy of cartoonist Asanka Laduhetti.
And that's a wrap of this edition of Primetime News. Now stay tuned for Biz in Focus. Dr. Suranga Silva from the Colombo University discusses the challenges facing Sri Lanka's tourism industry. For the news of Seema Mazrasan.
And I'm Shen Silva. Take care and good night.